Hey friends, welcome back to the Bald Booktuber. My name is Scott. Today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of the book The Legend of Blackjack by A.R. Witham. This is a YA portal fantasy, so it's a little bit outside of the realm of what I genuinely, traditionally read. I love Narnia, and this has big Narnia vibes, but it isn't the kind of book I typically pick up these days. I tend to be more into adult fantasy. But very graciously, the author A.R. Witham, who we'll call Andy for the rest of this because he said it's okay to call him Andy, he reached out to me and he said, "Hey Scott, I'd love for you to check this out. Would you like a copy of the book, either in paperback form or in an audio copy?" And I really appreciate that. He gave me a free audio copy of it to listen to. I also picked up a copy of the Kindle version for myself so that I could immersively read it. And I gotta tell you guys, I loved this book. I gave it 5 Stanley nods, and today we're gonna talk about what I loved about it, why you should check it out. It is an independently self-published book, so it isn't as well known as many other things. I think it's really important to spread the word and get more people checking this out and reading it because it is fantastic. So in terms of what it is, it's a story of an orphan teenage boy named Jack Swift. And Jack is kind of transported from our world into this fictional other world that is, reminiscent of places like Narnia, the land of Keymark. And the interesting thing about Jack is that he has an eidetic memory. So everything he sees, he automatically remembers. He learns things very, very quickly. His dad was a doctor and archaeologist. So one of the things that his dad enjoyed doing was testing the limits of his memory. And he would memorize full books. He would, memorize the periodic table. One of the things that they like to do is his dad would give him the number of an element, and he would say what the element was and that kind of stuff. So that was pretty cool. Jack is really into science. That is what he likes. And so it's interesting to kind of follow his path and his journey into this other world that science doesn't have a major role with. So the other world, essentially, magic was kind of the source of everything, including healing people, but that magic is dying and going away. So Jack is brought over as kind of a surrogate scientist, for lack of a better word. They call him Doktar, which is funny. It's like Doktar, Doktar Jack, which is pretty cool. So that's Jack, and that's primarily what the story is about. Again, very traditional, classic fantasy adventure. If you love Narnia, this is going to be right up your alley. I love Narnia, right up my alley. As far as the setting, Jack is from Chicago, which I love Chicago, one of my favorite cities. So there are some nice nods to the city of Chicago and some of the stuff there, like the Field Museum and some other stuff, Soldier Field, these kinds of things. So some of the story is set there, which is nice, but most of it is set in this fictional world called Keymark. And lots of talking animals and other types of things that, the fantasy fan in me really, really loves. In terms of some of the characters, we've kind of talked about Jack a little bit, so I won't talk too much more about him, but he's basically a prodigy with an eidetic memory. That really is what it boils down to. And as he's transported into this fictional land, he's also sort of believed to be this legendary hero named Blackjack. And so part of the story is about how he fills the shoes and kind of the identity of that mythical kind of hero, and that's a lot of fun to watch. One of the things that I really love in the story is his biggest strengths also sometimes turn out to be his biggest weaknesses. He's used to learning things easily and simply and quickly, and none of that really translates as he moves into this fictional world where everything is different and the rules don't apply that they do in our world. So something as simple as, like, automatically he can converse with everyone in this world. So he can understand them, they can understand him. And we learn that a lot of that has to do with magical reasons. Like, everybody just sort of has this built-in, ability to do that. But the moment that any kind of writing is placed in front of him, or he has to read something on a building, something like that, he can't read the language. And it's embarrassing to him, almost like he's humiliated by the fact that he can't read this language that he's never been taught. And internally, he understands that. He's like, well, I don't have the ability to read written Russian or Chinese or any of these kinds of things. Why would I have the ability to read this language inherently? But also, it ends up being kind of a roadblock for him, because people just assume he can do anything, including himself, and when he can't, that's a big roadblock. Some of the other characters that I really, really love, I'll kind of go through them. So Rooker Flynn is this kind of roguish pirate type of guy. Reminds me a lot of Han Solo. That's sort of the person I would compare him to. At first you think everything is sort of, greed and lust for money and power and these kinds of things, but he really kind of turns out to have a little bit of a heart of gold, and the friendship between him and Jack is really pretty special and fun to see on the page. He's my favorite character in the book, and I love just kind of the swashbuckling nature of his personality. It's a lot of fun. We also have Valerian Sai, who is the leader of the Border Knights, which the Border Knights were my favorite part of the story. There are 7 of them. Each of them is a different color, and they encompass different abilities and things that they stand for, which is really cool. And Valerian is the Grey Knight, which is the first knight of this order. He also has some of my favorite quotes and sayings and these kinds of things in the book. I love anytime he's talking to Jack and kind of teaching him about the history of the land and this kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. We also have Memphis. Memphis is awesome. Memphis is a rhinoceros that is the creature that brought Jack over into Keymark, kind of a magic-wielding rhinoceros. And we learn from Valerian that the city of Memphis in Egypt was named after Memphis the rhinoceros. And he also says, don't let him catch you calling him a rhinoceros. He won't like that. So be a picture of Memphis here to kind of show you what he looks like. The artwork in this book is fantastic, so I'll have some samples of some of the stuff. The next kind of trio of characters travel together as sort of a band, and they meet up with Rooker and with Jack, and I love these 3. They're a lot of fun. We've got Django Baron, who is kind of a longhorn minotaur bull type of character that is just honor-bound and duty-bound to follow this legendary character of Blackjack anywhere he goes, doing anything that he does. And the other 2 characters here are kind of following Django along, so it's fun to watch. I like Django a lot. And then you've got Li Bao, Sin of the Illustra, and he is a crocodile. Li Bao is, I guess he's got the knack for finding water, which is useful in, kind of this realm, getting fresh water for people, that kind of stuff. And just a cool looking crocodile, so that's cool. And then we've got maybe my favorite of the 3, and that's Chance, who's a feral cat, and presumably 24th in the line of succession of this royal throne called the Cerulean Throne. So Chance never fails to let everybody know how important he is, and the cat jokes are in there about how cats always think they're the most important, and it's just good stuff. What do I love about this? It's classic fantasy adventure. If you're into Narnia, if you're into Never-Ending Story, if you like Princess Bride, that kind of stuff, this is going to be right up your alley. All of the talking animals and that kind of stuff just gave me super big Narnia vibes. I hate to keep going back to Narnia, but I would be very, very shocked if Mr. Witham is not a big Narnia fan. it kind of rolls off. I think his writing flows very nicely, very beautifully. I'll share some of the quotes they had here in a minute or two. But yeah, I really enjoyed all that stuff. Why I think others might like it, in addition to me, I think it's really good for a story for most ages. I don't think people under 13 probably should be reading this, but 13 and above I think is perfectly good. There is certainly some graphic violence in it. There are some things that are not necessarily, I wouldn't read this to my nieces, for instance, and my 5 and 2-year-old nieces, this isn't a story for them. But, when they get older and into junior high school, I think that'll be fine. A good story as far as that goes. I don't typically tend to read younger age stuff. I tend to read a lot of adult fantasy, but this just hit me in all the right feels and did all the stuff I love. Briefly talk about the narration. It was narrated by Andy himself, the author, and I thought he did a fantastic job. I listen to, obviously, a lot of audiobooks, so I am pretty discerning when it comes to how good, bad, or otherwise they may be, and I thought he did a fantastic job. I thought all of the voices were distinct. I thought the emotional beats were there. I thought, he moved through it fantastically, and I agree with Madison, whose review I will have linked here. I think he should be narrating other audiobooks. Other authors should be reaching out to him to narrate their audiobooks. We'll go just real quickly into a couple quotes that I really liked, and give you kind of a flavor of his writing. And the first one is by Valerian Sy, and he's talking to Jack, and he says, "This is the way of the world, Jack. Nobility becomes pride, strength becomes arrogance, and power becomes greed. Our rulers lost their path. It's the way of all men, given enough time." I really like that quote. And then this one is less a quote than kind of an internal monologue that Jack has when he's thinking about doing something a little bit crazy. And he's talking to himself and thinking aloud to himself. And it says, "It's a bad idea, a horrible, sick, stupid, ridiculous idea. But like all great ideas, it wouldn't go away. And like all great ideas, it was terrifying. It was all Galileo's fault." I love that. I'll let you read and find out what was Galileo's fault, but it was really good. So that's sort of the story in a nutshell, and some of the characters that you'll be introduced to. I do have what I would consider something I don't typically do, and that's a call to action. And I'm going to ask that everybody that watches this, if you have not already, buy a copy of this book. And I know what you're thinking, like, don't ask me to spend money. I don't want to do that. I'm asking you to purchase, in quotes, a free copy of this book. If you go to Amazon today, I will have a link in the description so you can go do this. It is the aggressively priced $0.00 today, and I believe for the next couple of days. Please, please, please take a couple minutes out of your day, buy a copy of this book. If you're so inclined, please also check out the audiobook and the paperback copy. I'm certainly not going to tell you not to spend money to help this author out, but at the very bare minimum, everybody can afford free. It's free. So please do that. While you're at it, I will also have a link to his website. On the website, you will see both a trailer for the book that is very cool, and you'll have the opportunity, if you want to grab a copy of the novella that's a prequel to the story, which I have, but haven't had a chance to read yet. And it goes further into the Border Knights and kind of their story. So I'm looking forward to reading that. It's only like 20, 25 pages, I believe. But that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed this. I will have links also to the reviews of Madison over at Madison Goodyear and Andrew at Andrew's Wizardly Reads. They were the other two people that got me to give this book a chance besides the author himself. And they have fantastic reviews as well. So with that said, I hope everybody has a wonderful day. And as always, publication order always, my friends.